Hello everybody, welcome to another Woodworking Wisdom. Today we are looking at a scroll saw castles. Really nice little project, this one. Great for beginners and for those more advanced. We are keeping it simple today. We are doing a nice little castle, and then further down the line we're going to use this same technique to create something a little bit more technically difficult, and using different materials of different thicknesses and stuff like that. But today, this is the kind of groundwork of what we're going to do a bit further down the line. So these scroll saw castles, they are basically like cut on an angle, and they kind of stack up. I've got a couple of examples here. So we've got a little castle. And where we cut this on the taper, we can push each of these individual pieces up that we've cut and create something really cool. And yeah, so we're going to show you how to do this today. Apologies for last week. We've made it live today. Last week was the Love Spoon, and we didn't quite get on air. A couple of gremlins in the system, apparently. But apologies that we didn't go live with that one. As always, pop your questions in the chat, and we got Steph today looking after us on cameras and questions. Okay, so where are we going to start? Let's come over to the bench. I've got something. I've just done a couple of little bits here just to get us started, a couple of the boring bits. I've really just drawn a couple of rectangles on here. Give myself a bit of space for around the edge, and these are about 1 inch spaced apart. Okay, and these are going to kind of give us our castle walls. We're going to put some turrets on our castle, so I'm just using this little washer. Okay, so straight in with the questions. Great.
Hi, yeah, so I've got a question from Cliff here. Before you get sort of stuck in, he's asked if you can explain the dust collection setup.
Dust collection on the scroll saw. So on my scroll saw, I've got a little kind of a small extractor, so something that you kind of push around the house, really. This is the Bosch gas. This is you can use I wouldn't use a big extractor on a machine like this. It provides too much pull. And what you'll find happens is it will suck the if you've got a flat bit of wood, it will pull it down onto the table, and that extraction is pulling so hard it makes it difficult to move the workpiece. So I've got like I said before, we're a bit spoilt in here. I've got a lovely little Bosch gas extractor, the type that you would kind of fit onto your router, or any other kind of power tool. A small hose on that, so it's not like the big 4-inch. We're not trying to pull away too much air. And also, again, a bit spoiled, I can turn the it's got a variable it's variable, so you can turn the suction down, because you don't need much to pull away this dust. Sometimes the dust will get deposited on top of the project, where the blade's kind of pulling the waste out and then driving back down, and it leaves the dust on top. That blower will kind of push that dust away. And generally I'll use like an air filter or something like that, or a dust mask as a kind of last resort. Okay, but definitely extract off of these machines. That's going to be really, really helpful, and it's going to leave your workspace a bit cleaner, and all the kind of health benefits that come with having no dust. All right, we good? Good stuff. Thanks, Cliff. So I'm going to draw a little turret. So I'm just using a big washer here. This is a 10 mil on the inside, just a big old washer. And I'm using the corner, I'm kind of sighting the corner of our rectangle as the middle. And we've got that nice big aperture in the middle of the washer, so it's easy to sight that. So one on each corner. We're going for the classic kind of turrets on a castle. And of course, this could be any size you want. You can scale this up, scale it down. You could do little miniatures. Yeah. So we've got a kind of a basic outline of what we want to do. I think on the front ones, I'm going to do 2 tiers. So I've got a slightly smaller washer, and I'm going to round that off. So just a pencil line around there, all the way around this time. Again, you don't have to be too fussy with it. Just coming around here. Sorry if I'm blocking the view. And again, we're sighting that corner of the rectangle there. Is going to be our center.
We've had a message here from Maria, Ben, saying,
Yep.
going back a few months now, but after some exploration, she can confirm that the arm on the EX16 does indeed raise upwards. It was a bit stiff, so she had to loosen the nut, but it now works fine.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah. Got a great machine there. I love this scroll saw. But yeah, that arm should go up. I'm glad you cracked that one, Maria. Nice to see you in the chat. And hello to all our regulars.
I've got a question from Chris as well, asking what type of wood is it that you're using?
This is the classic. This is a bit of tulip. It's about 1 inch thick, or just over actually. It's about 25 mil. Where's my little rule? I'll just grab a fresh one. So, yeah, just over 1 inch, about 26 millimeters on there. Okay, and that's all I've done is I've measured from the edge 25 mil in or 1 inch in, same there, and then that's how I've got this rectangle. Okay, now because this is completely kind of encapsulated, if you want, this piece of wood, we need to drill some holes to thread our blade through. And actually, on these ones, I'm going to do a little straight line across the back. So I'll use my finger as a template, as a spacer, I guess, and just come across the back of these, because there's something else I want to show you as well. Just on the front ones there. And that's it. I think we're pretty much ready to go. Make a few drill holes, and we need to kind of consider that each one of these is going to be a separate thing. So this whole line counts as one. So that whole of that outside line counts as one piece. That's going to raise up. Again with the secondary ones. So we want to drill a hole in here. Let me grab my goggles. They're on my head already, I think. I know that's my my microphone. So just grabbing my goggles here. And where I'm going to put this dot is just tuck it in behind this back turret here. So I'm going to drill in there. Down through the project. Try and keep in that that drill nice and upright. Just have a quick peek, make sure we've gone all the way through, and that's going to relieve that part there. I'm going to come back to these turrets, I think. We're going to pop another one in here. Quick peek. We're good. So that's this section and that section. And we want all of these turrets to come up as well. So we do need to drill a little hole. The reason I'm placing them here is because that's going to be the back of our castle. And when this pulls up, none of those little drill holes are going to be visible. And a really thin drill bit, I think that's 2 mil. Okay. Where are we going here now? I'm going to go in here to so we can bring up that turret as a separate piece. In here. Each time have a little peek. In here. So each one of these pieces that are going to come up another level need its own drill hole to thread through. I think we've got them all considered there. If we haven't, we can always pop back. I always take a quick peek underneath, make sure we haven't got any kind of massive amount of breakout. We don't want this kind of rocking on the bed of the scroll saw. But I think we're good there. We can get cutting. So over to the scroll saw. I'm going to leave my project there a moment, but let's come on to our scroll saw here. So onto camera 3, please, Steph.
We have got a quick question.
Okay.
Walter has asked, he thought it was going to be Tormek today. Has it got it wrong? Have you got a Tormek video planned at all?
Tormek? I don't think we've got a Tormek video planned. I think Jason was talking about the diamond wheels, but we can do Tormek. If you haven't seen them already, we've done one on the T4. We've done one on the diamond wheels. And I think we've done one on the T8 as well. So have a look on our Woodworking Wisdom page. There's lots of Tormek information on there already. But if you're looking at something new or something specific, we can work that into the schedule and do a new one. Okay, good. So we were talking about the tilt. On the scroll saw. So let's just come back to camera 1 there, Steph. So on this this scroll saw, this is the AT406SS. Okay, this one has a tilting arm. On your kind of craft versions, or if you've got like a jet or something like that, with this kind of pear-shaped table, the table tilts on that one. And it's in the same place. On the machine here, we can tilt the table like that. I'm sorry, I'm a bit far away, but you can see that that tilts the table on the craft model. You know, lovely that we can tilt the arm on this one and achieve those angled cuts. On this one, we have a little rack and pinion in underneath. And with this being an inch deep, I think it's going to be around about 1.5 degrees. That will vary on the thickness of the timber. So if you've got a thinner piece, you're going to have to put more of an angle on the cut, because as it comes up, it's going to wedge in a different place. I like them to come up about 3/4 of the way. So we're going to do a couple of test cuts with the same thickness of material. So let's have a go at 1 degree first. So I'm undoing our little Bristol locking lever there and just kicking that over really slightly. It doesn't take much to create that taper. And all I'm going to do is cut almost a semicircle in our piece of timber. Again, same thickness as our project piece. Sorry, let me just check we've tilted the right way. Okay. And it's also important which way round you go. So from this point, I'm going to be turning the project anti-clockwise. I've tilted the arm over to the left. I'm going to be cutting anti-clockwise. Because this isn't completely kind of encapsulated by the piece of wood, I need to come right round on a semicircle so that we create that kind of pinch point. And just checking, I'm pushing my bit of wood up. And it looks like not quite enough tilt. I can see that if I keep going with that, it is grabbing, but it's going to go out the top. All right. And this is the best way of setting that angle. Is just test it on your piece of wood. So I'm going to kick it over another 1/2 degree. So that was 1 degree. Another half, and that should be right. So cutting another little semicircle. And then push it up. And you can see there that that's wedged into place now. I cannot physically pull that out. We're about halfway. And I would like that to come out a little bit further, just being fussy. So I'm just going to take away a tiny amount on here. And this is really important. Your setup is really important. Just getting that right before you start cutting out your project, because it's the worst thing if you spend all that time doing your project and you get to the end of it and it doesn't quite interlock. So going from right to left. Oh, I didn't quite give myself enough of an angle there. Cutting this semicircle. That comes back on itself like that. Now hopefully we've got it in a good spot. Sometimes the waste can kind of bind it up, but that's good. That's just over halfway. I'm happy with that. All right. So that's going to give us that much extra on the each level that we cut is going to come up by that amount. If you feel you want it to come further, lessen the angle. If you want it to be shallower, you need to increase the angle, and that will go on both sides and create that plug as it kind of comes up. All right.
Hiya. So Cliff is asking, are you using your favorite PEGAS modified geometry blade?
Yeah, you got it, Cliff. This is my old faithful, the modified geometry number 5. That's in the links if you wanted to have a look at those. Just in the links below the video. Always use this blade. It's fantastic. Okay, let's have a little look at where we're at. So we know we've got that interlocking piece, like so, and that is kind of how much each of the steps of our castle are going to kind of come up or raise above the baseboard. I'm going to tweak that just a tiny bit more. Because I want it to come up that little bit further. Okay, so that's it. Always test on a similar thickness piece of material as to your project. Okay, so we've got another question.
Fuller was pondering the universe, and he so failed to note the initial angle. He's just asking what the angle is again.
Okay, yeah, no worries. So it was we started off at 1 degree. That wasn't quite enough. So we've just increased it a little bit, and I am on just under 1.5 degrees here. So it varies. That isn't kind of set in stone. Just make sure you use your test bit. So I'm just trying to align it to the right bit. We're going to cut this outside of the walls first. So it's that one there. Oops. There we go. We made it. Okay, so another question.
So Maria's asking, is there a preferred wood for these castle projects, or is there a type of wood that is a big no-no to try and avoid?
You don't want anything that's too kind of soft, I guess. So avoid your kind of things like pine and things like that, because they will bruise as you kind of, because it's quite fun to collapse them and bring them out again. As those kind of pieces kind of push against one another when we bring that taper in, we don't want them to bruise. So something nice and nice hardwood. These tulips are good. Lime would be good. Sycamores. These are the ones I use loads for lots of stuff because they all have that similar kind of property, and it goes back to my pyrography, which I love doing, and carving. All these woods have a very kind of similar grain structure, and I kind of try and stick with the ones that I know, so I'm not having too many surprises. Okay, so another question.
So we've got a bandsaw question here.
Oh, cool.
Dances with Aardvarks has asked, is there any info or videos on which machines can be or can't be upgraded with the BS11 blade guide set? I think he's bought a Delta saw and the blade guides aren't great.
Okay, so swapping out for like perhaps ceramic guides to bearing guides. I don't think we have done a video on that. Check on the website. They usually list all the kind of compatible machines that it will go straight onto. But worth phoning our technical guys. Sorry, I don't know that one off the top of my head, but worth ringing the guys in our kind of technical or after sales department, I should say. And they've probably been asked that question before, so they'll have the shortcut for that one. All right. Good stuff.
Yeah, carry on.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay, so where are we at? We know they've got that angle kicked off to one side, so I need to go anti-clockwise with my workpiece. So it means I'm going to start the cut, come around this turret, and then follow that outside line all the way down. Because this is drilled fairly straight. Sorry, can we come on to camera 3 here, Steph? Because the drill hole's fairly straight and we've got the angle kicked off, sometimes when you first turn the machine on, it's going to grab it because it's got that kind of kink in it. Make sure your tension's right. Hold the piece down and turn the machine on. And we are literally just following this line around. Nice steady kind of feed rate onto the blade. We've got quite a chunky piece at 25 mil, and we don't want to kind of push it too hard. Let the blade do the cutting, and also if you kind of try and force it, sometimes it will make the blade go straight, and then we lost our taper. Because this is kind of all one piece, I won't be able to use my normal tricks of kind of backing up the line and taking a cut from a different area. Because there's no waste on this. This is all one project. There's no kind of wiggle room to back off up the cut and then, you know, skip round a corner. What I would advise is that we don't make these angles too kind of acute, so it's difficult to get round. Okay, so another question.
Hiya. So Fuller said here, some time ago he did a sawing method to cut a spiral.
Sorry,
and
Steph,
spread glue and pushed it out.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Steph.
It's all right. So Fuller said some time ago he did a sawing method to cut a spiral, then he spread the glue and pushed it out, then he put it on a lathe to turn a bowl. Could one of the Colin or Jason take one of your castles and give it a go on a lathe afterwards?
Yeah, so there's all sorts you can do with this. You can cut separate parts, so you can cut little staircases. In fact, I've got a little pyramid here. I just want to show you this one. I've got a little kind of stepped pyramid, a kind of Mayan pyramid here, and what I'm going to do with this one is do a flight of steps that comes up that kind of matches the profile of this one, and then I'm going to 3D cut a little kind of temple on the top. So I'll show you that one when it's done. You can see the inside there. It's almost like a bowl, isn't it? So there's lots of stuff you can do with this technique. And also some of these turrets, if you think of the kind of, you know, the Eastern European castles, or the you know, the classic Disney castle, they will have those kind of trumpeted turrets on the top. So you could introduce wood turning, glue bits on, 3D cut things. There's all sorts of cool stuff you can do. But today we're just going over the basics of this this kind of stepped the castles. Yeah, so quite simple today, but we will explore this a bit further.
Martin's asked here if Axminster have any plans to have bring out a scroll saw that bridges the gap between the craft and the trade machines.
I think there is something in the pipeline. Yeah, big jump between the machines, going from the craft to the trade. You know, hundreds of pounds, in fact. It really, you know, it depends on how much you want to invest, how much, you know, how much time you spend at a scroll saw, because they're going to do pretty much the same job. It's just the comfort and the kind of bits and bobs, the bells and whistles, if you will, that kind of elevate these types of machines. But I think there is plans to bring something to bridge the gap, and also with the lathes. All right. You'll find this. There's no kind of major feature on this scroll saw that really kind of sets it apart. It's lots and lots of little bits and bobs, like the blade change, the extraction, the materials that it's made of. You know, they're just better quality and better manufactured. All right. But yeah, I think something's coming soon. Okay, we good? Let's crack on. Oh, I switched my extractor over, and I couldn't hear you. Oh, let's turn off the automatic filter cleaning, because that's sort of like a thump that we don't want. So let's come along our line here. Again, nice steady feed. Don't push too hard. You know, we don't want to break the blade or... Oops. So I've gone a little bit wonky on that turret, but that's all right. Some of these castles are pretty wonky. It's all part of its character and charm. That's what I'm going with anyway. So we're coming round our last turret here. And this is funny, you'll get to know the scroll saw. I'm not actually feeding this through straight. It's actually on the blade has a bias one way. So, you know, I'm not actually feeding this straight through. I'm kind of presenting it a slight angle. And that could be just this particular blade. I could change it in a minute and we'll be cutting nice and straight. But you'll soon realize if it's starting to drift off a line in a certain direction. There we go. That you just, you know, make up for that with the way that you're feeding it on. Okay, so pushing up that from underneath, we've got our first kind of outer wall, I guess, of our castle. Okay, so another question.
So Charles has asked here, he says, it looks like you're going through that wood like butter. So is it the blade or is it the wood?
Oh, it's probably the blade. Yeah, it's this modified geometry number 5. It is lovely. And of course the timber is going to have an effect as well. I'm just removing our outer kind of our base, if you will. The outer walls are actually here. But yeah, just getting rid of that one for the time being. Put that to one side. You don't want like loose bits as you're kind of trying to feed it around. And make me go off the lines even more than normal.
Maria says there's lots of wonky castles in Wales as well.
Yeah, loads of wonky castles. And that's what we're going for. And you could do these as ruins. You could take these parts off and cut them with with your carving tools. You could texture bricks and all sorts of stuff with pyro. And I know once I get this bit cracked and we get a bit more advanced, we'll show you some really cool stuff with adding effects and 3D cutting and all that sort of stuff. So keep your eyes peeled. Today we are just getting the basics. And you can cut these freehand. They don't have to be all planned out like this. The idea of this one come from a friend of Colwyn's or someone Colwyn went on the wood turning cruise with, Jim Sterling. And he is fantastic at these things. When you're finished here, check out Jim Sterling's scroll saw castles. They are fantastic. And he cuts them all freehand. They are so cool. I've got his book actually. I'll show you that in a minute. Let's crack on a bit here. I'm not sure, you can't really see, it's not very obvious, but I'm actually feeding on at an angle here because of that bias on the cut of the blade. But that's a kind of feel you get rather than just knowing it's going to be there. And of course, the width of the blade is going to make a change as well on your the angle that you that cut this. Because if there's more, if it has a bigger curve than these modified geometry ones, you're going to cut more waste, and that's going to have a big impact on how far the the layer projects out of its out of the previous layer. These modified geometry ones have a really kind of skinny, there's hardly any waste off of them. Number 5 a bit more so, but if you've only got like a number 3 or something like that, there's going to be hardly any waste off of that. So you may need to kind of decrease the angle. Cool. Again, always slow down when you're approaching your kind of drill mark. We don't want to overshoot that and cut into our next piece. What am I doing here? Struggling. So we've got 2 tiers now. Oh, I got it upside down. No, I haven't. Let's get this right. Is it that way around? There we go. So you can see now we're starting to produce something quite kind of cool looking. Oh, let's come over to our camera 2 here, Steph, on the bench. Our camera 2's on the blink. Let me just fiddle with some cables here. Make sure we're in business. There we go. Sorry about that. I think one of the cables have come loose. So you can see we're starting to build some layers now. Again, if you did want this to rise up a little bit more, I think I would probably prefer it to come out a little bit more. You can see on this one the kind of the difference on the height, because we hit that angle correctly on the scroll saw. So a little bit shallow, probably you could force it up a little bit. Always give it a little tap if you wanted to really kind of lock that in. And then we can start to put little different buildings on top here. We could do one off to one side, which we'll probably do in a minute if we, time allowing. If you're clicking these back down, especially if you've got lots of layers, like our pyramid here, always start from the bottom. Okay, so you're pushing down from the bottom layer and kind of going through the layers as you go. Otherwise, if you push that one, it will fall straight through. And sorry, let's get a bit closer. If you push from the top straight away, it's going to fall through and fall out because that taper is not holding it anymore. So layer by layer, we'll just go through those and push them all down. Oof, bit of smoke there, bit of dust there. Let's get rid of that. And you can see that original print off I did is a top down, and you can turn this upside down, and you got your little pyramid. Bit wonky again, but a few little adjustments, and that'd be cool. Okay. So where we're at with this one. So now I'm going to cut these kind of inner parts of the turrets here. Again, bring that up, and they should come up to the same level as this one here. Give it all a bit of depth and a bit of interest. So I need that outside layer. Let's push that down, and you can see how hard that grip is. Come out through the bottom. I want that one. Okay, this is the one I'm working on. We want to cut these inner parts of these turrets. Okay, let's get on to this one. I've done a really small drill hole, but if you think it's going to be tricky to thread the blade through, you can always do it slightly bigger. Just make sure it's sort of hidden behind the workpiece. Now, I'm not sure, you can't really see it on this one, but on this one here, I've just drawn a little flat on the back of the circle. So on the front turrets, we're going to cut a little flat on there, and that will come obvious in a moment. So remember, we're turning the piece anti-clockwise. Really important that we get that right. So cutting around my circle here, using this finger almost as a pivot point, and a kind of hold down. Having to switch a grip now. And there's not many machines I would bring my fingers this close to the blade with, but I'm really kind of confident that I'm not going to hurt myself on the scroll saw. So quick change in direction, and then we're coming across this flat. Slowing down as we reach our drill hole. Good. Give that a little test, and we can see that it locks into place. Fantastic. Again, popping that to one side and onto the next one. Okay, so tension on there, and we need to be coming anti-clockwise. And I always try and remind myself each time I put the blade in, because it's so easy to go the wrong way.
It's quite funny that you mentioned the direction, because not long before you said it a minute ago, Fuller has said, I think maybe Ben should mention the importance of sawing in one direction. So you guys are obviously in sync.
Yeah, great minds, eh, Fuller? Okay, so yeah, we always got to cut in the same direction. If we've got a tilt, it's really important. It's paramount, because otherwise, if you go the other direction, the taper's going to go the other way, and everything will just fall through the bottom. Okay. We always get lots of great hints and tips from Fuller. Sometimes you approach things a certain way, and you don't often consider the alternatives. You kind of think in your mind, oh no, there's a way to do this. This is the way you do it. But it's lovely to have all these hints and tips coming in, and alternative ideas of how to achieve the same kind of thing. It's brilliant. That's what this is all about, is sharing knowledge, sharing our kind of enjoyment of these hobbies and pastimes. So it's really great to have all these hints and tips in the chat. Okay, another question.
So we've got a couple of questions. Maria's asked, when finished, would it be worth putting a kind of X-shaped frame on the bottom so that you can still push it out and up, but it doesn't fall apart?
Yeah, and you'll see when we get onto our kind of more advanced ones, we're going to do some really cool things. And sometimes they'll need support, and they'll kind of be always open. If you've got, if it wants to be permanently up and you don't want to collapse it, you can put little kind of pillars in underneath, if you will. And I want to do one that has lots of windows, and we can stick a light in underneath and have the light kind of coming through all the gaps in between the layers and the windows. It's going to be cool, but a bit more practice for that one.
Benjamin has asked, have you considered adding a picture of a woodpecker on the head of the scroll saw? That it'd be rude not to.
Well, yeah. So it's kind of pecking away at the bit of wood. Definitely. Love it. Yeah, that'd be really cool.
And Maria's asked as well before, potentially as a future project, cutting some metal on one of these scroll saws. Cutting some metal,
yeah. I recently had a really lovely workpiece sent to me. It was had copper on it. So Martin, if you're there, thank you so much. And that's really kind of inspired me to have a look at some of these metals and some of the kind of reactive stuff that we've got, the Chromacraft products, using heat and things like that. I think Martin uses heat to kind of flip and change the color on the metal. They're fantastic, and the finishes on them look really just lovely colors. So again, that's something to explore. We've got so many things here that we kind of got, especially me with my kind of crafty bits and bobs going on. There's so many different directions you can take it. So yeah, something for the future. I definitely want to start cutting a bit of metal, because I've been, inspired by this lovely workpiece, and start looking at reactive stuff and integrating metals and woods and mixed media. For me, that kind of mixed media thing's really cool, and it's something I really want to explore. If we get time, we'll definitely have a go at that.
A couple of people, top tips, are saying that you should number your turrets. So
Number the turrets,
which ones which holes they're going back into.
Yeah, for sure. Because I swear in a minute we're going to go back to that, and I don't know what turret's what, but hopefully we'll get it together. But top tip, love it. All right, we good? Good. Thanks, Steph. Anti-clockwise. Always remind yourself So always keeping that pressure down on the table. We don't want to lift it, and nice and slow as we kind of sever that piece off. I'm going to leave that one in there in case I get confused in a minute. So threading the blade through the project.
Just to let you know, Ben, Martin is watching.
Oh, hi, Martin.
And he said all the colours on the fish were done with heat and plunging into water.
Oh, cool. Yeah, almost like kind of tempering. Love it. So your ideas, your projects, your photos that you guys send in, they're always really well received and really inspirational for all of us in here. You know, it allows us to create new ideas and or copy your ones. So we're, you know, there's lots to going forward. There's lots that we can do and have a go with. Okay, cool. So we've got, oh, let me undo that one. We've got little turrets on the back here now. And of course you can take them out. Quite difficult to do to cut anything on the round. So where we've done the flats on the back of these, that's going to be a lot more stable on the table, as Craig would say. I'm just going to use a bit of abrasive here. I've just got it on here. This is a bit Heath Robinson, but please forgive me. I'm just going to flatten the little pip on the back of those. Work out which turret's which. So that one looks a bit loose in there, so it must be that one. That's cool. We've got that. And then that one goes in there. And we got our little turrets poking up. All right. So we've got our turrets with the little flat on the back there. Okay. That's what we're going to be using to kind of rest on the table. And I'm just going to make sure they're the right way up, because again, that's really important and can be confusing. I'm going to pop them on my table here. And we are going to just grab a pencil. And we want to do this in the kind of higher portion. Remember, almost half of this is going to be buried in the layer underneath. So I'm going to do a couple of little kind of windows, that shape. You could, you know, if you're looking at a particular castle, sometimes these have those little kind of slits in, like where the arrow, you know, shoot the arrows from, or sometimes it's a cross and stuff like that. Some really cool shapes. Okay, so another question.
Sorry, Jenny's asked a beginner question, but why anti-clockwise?
Just because the way, because I've tilted this off to the left, it's important that we go anti-clockwise to create that taper like that. If we went clockwise, so we'll be starting on this side, it kicks it the opposite way. So the taper would go the other way, and the pieces will fall through the bottom of the project. All right. So
if you tilted the arm to the right, you would go clockwise, I guess.
This way it gets a little bit confusing. So it would be the opposite on the table. If you tilted the table to the left, you'd have to go clockwise. But just kind of try and envisage it in your mind that we want to create a taper like that. So if you've got your flat bit of wood, I've chopped all my bits of wood up. If you've got your flat bit of wood and you pop it on the table, eyeball it and see which way that kind of which way it's going, and kind of imagine it on the opposite side, because as you cut round, of course, that taper is going to be on the other side. So we're creating these plugs. All right, it gets a little bit confusing. I confuse myself when I'm trying to explain it. I remember we used a very similar technique on our Three Wise Men. We did 3 wise men. We've kind of pushed them through from the back and kind of locked it into place. And also, just bear with me a moment. I'll just grab something. Things like these spiral bowls. That's done on a taper. Okay, and really important that we on this one we cut anti-clockwise, I believe, and that again creates that taper. So it doesn't really matter which way you go, but it needs to be able to create that taper so that these things kind of interlock. So you can do the little spiral bowls, those kind of 3D things like we did with the wise men. I'm not sure where we've put them. But it's a similar technique, and my best advice would be just lay the project on the bed of the scroll saw, and kind of try and imagine that kind of taper shape. Okay. Okay. So we've got our little windows. We need to just drill these out. So again, try and keep the drill up nice and straight. So we've got our little drill holes right the way through. Now we can straighten this blade. We don't want a taper on this one. We can go nice and straight with this. So I can set this back to 0. Again, another nice little feature on this is it's got this little locking pin just under here, which will set it back to 0 without me kind of having to eyeball it. So there's a little locking pin under there with that 0 position. Okay, so last little bits here. I'm just going to thread this through our hole. Oh, it's caught on something. There we go, we're in. And tiny little piece now. You know, there's not much to this. We're going to get right close up to the blade. And can we see this? Nope. Let's drop our guards. We can just about see it. In fact, if you just pop onto camera 1 a minute, Steph, let's see if I can get a little bit closer. There we go. That's a bit better. So I'm planting a finger on top here and, well, pinching it really nice and tight down onto the table. Start that saw. We can come into the corner, and this is all waste, so we don't need to worry about backtracking and things like that. We can do all of those things. So what I'm going to do now is get back into that little section there. Quite difficult to grip this. You could always hold this with, you know, like a quick grip clamp or something like that, because it is really tricky to kind of get your fingers in there. A spiral blade would also excel in this little area. I'm struggling to hold this. Sometimes the blade will just ping that out if it's feeling helpful. But we've got a little kind of window, I guess. Get our blade thread through the second one. But these little details do look really nice once they're all done. So I'm going to cut into one of these corners, backtrack out, rest on the back of the blade, so swinging it round, and then reversing into that corner, and then bringing the project round, and take our cut from there. Always a tricky one to hold. Like I say, oops, so let go, it grabbed. It didn't ping the blade yet. Let's bring that right down onto the table, but you can see I've kind of overshot there. And that's why that hold down clamp come in useful there. Lots of people take these straight off the machines, but actually that saved my finger from any punishment from the from it rising up. And I'm just going to make that window a bit bigger to get rid of that little mistake. A little side to side action there, just to get rid of the pip at the bottom. And I want that curve in the top to be a bit better than that. So we're going to have a big window on this one. And alternatively, you could use a little needle file or something like that to tidy those little bits up. So we've got our two little components there. I'm just going to come back out of this camera now. So if we come on to camera 2 there, Steph. Just going to come back on that one. Actually, I don't think we need the scroll saw anymore. I think we're pretty good. So let's put this together. So I've got, where are we here? Bear with. I'm just trying to find which way this goes around. Oh no, I'm in a pickle now. Those numbers would have been fantastic. It was that way. I was just being a bit ham-fisted. Okay, so that one looks to be that shape. Good. We got that one in there. And then we've got our central piece. Let's go in there. Okay, cool. So there we got the beginnings of our little kind of castle. Probably want another layer in that. Bring this out, maybe put a little building to one side, maybe a little spiral staircase coming up to it. You can glue bits on and things like that. And you can also change the layers. Let me grab one I've done earlier. So this one, let me pop that there. This one, we got like a wall around the sides, and we drop that other layer back down so that's not held on that taper, but when the base is on there, we've got this midsection that kind of grips in here. Put some little cuts across the top, some windows like we do, but you know, explore this you know, technique. That wasn't cut from it wasn't kind of encapsulated, so on the back here you can see all the kind of open structure of how that works, how the kind of bits wedge into one another. So you know, really fun. I've had fun doing these. If you wanted to you know, really get into this, there's a really cool book by Jim Sterling. Remember we mentioned that one, Scroll Saw Castles, and just look at those sort of burr ones and things like that. A little bit more technical though, so we're going to you know, have a go at those another time. I've got my bit of timber ready with all you know, different thicknesses and stuff like that. So we're going to have a go at those, potentially add a bit of pyro, some bits like that. If we can just come on to camera 1 here, Steph. Thank you. So yeah, we've got lots to explore with this. We can add pyrography, carving, we can get those little kind of rotary Dremel tools, and you know, you could do your windows and things like that with it. But that's really just a little taster, and again we will explore this a bit further further down the line. Well, thanks for tuning in to another Woodworking Wisdom. If you've enjoyed the video, please give us a thumbs up, share if you will, and we'll see you again soon for some more Woodworking Wisdom. Thanks a lot.